Hello, Minke.
Hello, Ron.
You're a philosophical practitioner, and I understand that you work with a variety of different formats, that you work with the business world and you do various things there, but you also work sometimes with individuals.
Mm-hmm.
How do you start a philosophical counseling session with an individual?
In fact, before we start, through email or telephone, I had some contact with the person who comes to me and say, hey, I want to have a philosophical consultation. I sent then a little letter with some information about what they can expect. And if they still want it, after they read that, then they can call me back or send another email, and then we set a date. Then there is the first session, and that just begins as any other consultation would begin, which is me asking the person what his question is.
So what do you say in those introductory explanations? What do you tell the person that is going to happen?
Yes. Actually, you can call it expectation management. There's actually a heading, of course, with practical information and cost and stuff like that. But there's also a heading expectations, which is the longest part of the information. And that says, more or less, don't expect me to change you. Don't expect me to really help you. What you can expect from me is that you get all kind of weird questions that you do not really, probably do not really understand why I ask them, and that I will invite you to answer them anyway, and that after the first session, we will have like 30 minutes or something for the person to question me regarding whatever they want. So they know that it's going to be a weird experience. And they also know, this is not in the written paper, but if I talk to someone, I also say that if there are emotions, don't expect me to pay a lot of attention to the emotions. It's okay to be emotional, but don't expect me to all of a sudden change pace or style because you're crying or you're angry or whatever. And funny enough, I get some people who like that. Yeah.
So the person understands that this is going to happen, something not regular, not ordinary.
Yeah.
And what happens then? The knock on the door, the person comes in, what happens usually?
Well, most of the time this is at my office in Amsterdam. They just sit in the room. I'm called by the reception, they are there. I walk to the reception, we meet, we shake hands. I don't say too much. I say whether they had a nice trip or something, then I put them in the room. I ask if they want coffee. If they want, I go and get it. But anyway, I leave the room. So they are in the room alone. I leave the room, go get coffee, go to the bathroom, whatever I do. Then I come back and then we begin. So there is not so much time between the knock on the door, as you put it, and the actual beginning of the consultation, which, by the way, is marked by putting on the camera, the video camera.
Aha, so you take a video of the event.
Yes, I take the video of the event. The event lasts about 1 hour, 60 minutes. And I always end the consultation. Is there anything else that you would like to add to the video? No, most of the time. Sometimes they have something. Then I switch it off. And then there is 30 minutes for this person to ask me whatever they want to ask.
So let's look first at the part where you ask the person.
Yeah.
What do you ask the person?
At the moment that I begin, I don't know.
So let's say I knock on the door, I come in, I sit down, I get coffee, and I say, and you ask me a question?
I ask you, what's your question?
So I say, let's say, I don't know, something is not exactly right. I'm not sure what. I would like more excitement in life, something more full, meaningful.
Okay. Then I would ask you probably if you think that that's a question, the things that you've just been saying. Or I could ask you if you could just put that in a question. Or I could say that there is a person who wants more excitement in life, and then what kind of question could that person ask? So I would make some kind of move, I could call it a move, to actually get the person to formulate it in a question.
Okay, so from the complaint at the beginning, you change it to a question. And after I do put it as a question, let's say, how do I make my life more exciting?
Yes, why not? Makes sense if that's the complaint. Then it's what can I do to make my life more exciting? There's many ways, but I could ask you if you find your life boring right now, or I could ask you what kind of question it is, or I could ask you whether you think it's an important question that you're asking. So there is different ways to continue there. There's I'm right now I'm asking myself, what do I base that decision upon? And it's, well, a big part is intuitive, and then you find yourself a reason that one can articulate. But it depends a little bit on how the things are pronounced and what do you sense. Is it a real question, or is there anything else behind it, or so it's something like this.
So what might happen? Give me an example of what might happen after half an hour with that question that I gave as an example.
Yeah, so the purpose of my questions, so what I'm working towards, is that this person gets insight in how the person thinks. And I put emphasis on the how because I clearly distinguish between the what and the how. So just to say that a person right now finds his or her life boring, I could qualify as a what. Yeah? So the qualification that a person gives to his life is boring. Yeah, so it's a what. But I think more interesting is the manner of thought that would produce the what's, the thoughts, the actual thoughts.
For example, what manner of thought?
I don't know. It depends on what this person could say. But it could be, suppose that you need to qualify the manner of thinking that would cause a person rather complaining than asking questions. Yeah, so what kind of thinking would rather complain than ask questions?
I see. So me as a consultee, as you say, maybe at the end of half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever, I will realize that I am more a complainer than someone who asks questions, as a possible thing that I may discover.
Yes, exactly. Or maybe it's about responsibility, that you would rather tell someone else what's wrong with you than that you think, hey, what can I do? That depends a little bit on what else has been said, but it's insights like that, like insights regarding the way of thinking that I try to find, but also try to bring. So it's not so much just me knowing how the person works and then the other person still doesn't know, but there's a next step in like
pointing out to the person.
Yeah, so it's only successful if the person sees how it works.
Okay, so after the first half of this first session, the person is starting to think about what kind of way of thinking he or she has. That starts to think. And now you say that in the second half of the session, you let the other person ask questions. That's very interesting. What happens there?
Well, just to be precise, it's not so much a half. So there is an hour of the official consultation, and then there's 30 minutes where they have the opportunity or possibility to ask me questions. Not everybody does it. Most of the people don't do it. But the persons who do, they could either, there's more or less two types, more or less. There is one group who keeps asking me questions about the way they think. So then they go and, do you think that I am
pessimistic or whatever?
Yes, exactly. But how do you think I should now? So it's like still about them. So the subject hasn't changed. And that's one group. Second group is more about the method. They want to understand where my questions come from.
Why did you ask me this or that?
It's like that. It's like that. Yes, yes. Or how did you pick up? Ta-la-la-la-la-la. Yeah, so because this goes really quick, and after a few minutes they're so they're like baffled with the speed that their way of thinking shows, and then they want to understand how I did that.
Minke, what would you say is the philosophical element in this first session as you described it?
Yeah, of course. Well, this is a big debate, obviously. So I'll try to give a rather clear answer, composed of two parts. The first part is that I use logic. It's just if logic imposes a certain question or conclusion or assumption or whatever, it's strong enough a base to use it for a next question. So I use logic, that's the first part. And the second part is that I fully skip the autobiographical dimension of the subject, words, questions, emotions, whatever comes to the table. Yeah.
So if I understand you correctly, the point is that you're not digging into the motivations, the hidden psychological motivations, but rather exploring the way of thinking of the consultee.
Yeah, this is interesting. A few years ago, I would say yes to that question, but I found out that 100 years ago, psychology was part of philosophy, and that the distinction is not so clear. But what I find clear is the distinction between autobiographical causes, so things that happened in the past of my life that have caused the certain way of thinking that I have right now, which I claim psychological, and I put outside my consultation. That's the one side, and the other side, the reasons. So it's not the causes, but the reasons. So I don't care in which year you got it and what your father did. So you got the idea. I just want to know the idea.
I understand.
So this is a way that I try to keep the distinction, but I know that it's not so easy to keep it like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's say that you finished a first session with a client. What would be a good ending? What would be a session where you would go out and you said, "Oh, that was a real good session"?
Yeah. The easy answer is that's a session if they say it.
If they say it's a good session.
Yeah, but that is not without. It's not that easy, because it's also good if they are a little bit baffled, a little bit confused.
Okay.
But I think that the people who will come to me and not to someone else will like that, because of the introduction, because of the expectations. So if you want like a completely warm, conducted, guided process, then you don't come to me. If that is either consciously or unconsciously what you're looking for, you won't say yes to my proposal. So I could say that a session has ended well if they say it was well, and that probably includes a little itchy something.
They're a little bit intrigued, fascinated,
Yes,
baffled.
yeah, something like this. Yeah. Yes.
Well, that's certainly a different way of doing a philosophical counseling session. And
Is it? I
yes,
should look at the other videos then.
Well, no, it's certainly interesting.
Good.
Well, thank you, Minke.
Thank you. Most welcome.